Hi, fifth grade. All right, well, we don't get to do math together today. Thought I'd do a quick recording to show you some of what you're going to be doing in math lesson 2.12, which is what's assigned for today. Okay, we don't get to go through quite as much stuff. Quick reminder, the division is, right, taking a large number and kind of breaking it into smaller groups where the groups have the same amount in each pile, right? Okay, so question first is when it says divide and it gives you the numbers like this, where it says 966 divided by 42. Which one is the number that goes inside your long division box here? The bigger number, right? Right. You're going to be dividing 966 by 42. The bigger number goes inside. The one you're dividing by goes over here on the side. So let's go ahead and set the pen up here so I can draw, right? All right, so we're going to put 966. Now, I'm giving you the graph paper, just like before, so you can help line up those numbers, kind of keep them in the right columns, and then you're not accidentally subtracting the wrong numbers from one another, right? So divided by 42, the 42 goes on the side, right? Okay, now, as we discussed before, you have two ways of doing this. You can either estimate and say 42 is close to 40. I can probably figure out my 40s and go 40, 80, 120, 160, and you can figure it out that way about how close it is and then go from there, which would be fine, right? Then you got your 40, right? 80, 120. Honestly, I'd probably go with an 80 in this case and just use the first two numbers, 96. Okay. Or you can do your repeated addition because I'm pretty sure you don't have your 40, your multiples of 42 memorized. You might have all of them memorized from 1 to 9, maybe even through 12, but 42 would be a strange one to have memorized. So a repeated addition would be fine. Obviously, 42 times 1 is 42 because that's the rule of multiplying by 1, right? Anytime you multiply something by 1, it stays the same. 42 times 1 is 42. So 42 times 2, you're just going to add a 42 here. So 42 plus 42 is 84. Good. Now you have 84, you're going to add 42 again. 84 plus 42. 84 plus 42, right, 126. Now you have 126, and again, repeated addition, add that 42, and again, 126 plus 42 is 168. And a repeated addition, add that 42 again, 168 plus 42 is 210. Now we can keep going and do all of it, that's fine. But I still kind of like the idea of just looking at the 96 first. Okay, obviously 42 is too big for just the 9. You can't divide 9 by 42. It's smaller than 42. We can divide 96 by 42 because it's bigger than 42, right? So let's look over here. What do you see that's close to 96 without going over? Let's see. You want to get as close as you can. 84 is still smaller, right? 126 is too big. So that one's too big, which means we're going to want to use this one, the 84, because it's close without getting too bigger than the 96. You don't want bigger. You want close without bigger, right? Okay. So that means it's going to be times 2. 42 times 2, and you put it over the 6, not the 9. Be very careful here because you're dividing it by the whole 96. You're going to put it above the 6 part of the 96. This one's going to stay blank. Okay. careful, line things up so you don't have oopsies, right? All right, so, and we know 2 times 42 is 84. I'm just going to change color so you can see it better. 84. Again, use those columns, line things up, and look here, we divided, right? We divided 96 by 42. We figured out it's pretty close to the 42 times 2, that's that multiplying there, which is 84. So now we're going to come to this next step, the subtract. So 96 take away 84, 6 take away 4 is, I'm going to change colors. All right, 2, good. And 9 take away 8 is 1. Now, this is a good time to double check. This is always a great time to double check. When you're done with subtracting, right, you want to look at that answer you get, the difference, the answer to the subtraction problem, right? The difference is 12. And the thing you want to check is you want to make sure that's smaller than what you're dividing by. Is that smaller than the divisor, which is 42? If this number down here is smaller than this number over here, you're good. If this number is bigger, then you probably go back and pick a different number to multiply up here, probably go up to 3. So try 42 times 3, see if you can get closer, because you really need this number when you're done subtracting to be smaller than this number. That's the divisor, okay? If you're good, if it's smaller, then you go on to the next step, which is bring down the next number. Our next number is 6. We're going to bring it down. You can draw the arrow or not, but make sure you line it up with the 12. You don't want it floating up here or way down here. Put them all in line so you can tell these are all in one number together now, right? 126 is our new number, right? 126. Now, then we're going to do the repeat because we're not done, obviously, right? So we repeat, which means we come back up here to the divide, and we wonder how many times does 42 go into 126? Well, you can, again, if you did the repeated addition, you can look over here, right? If you did the estimate, well, 120 is pretty close to, right? 126. So that's the third one, right? 1, 2, 3, right? So 42 times 3. Well, what is 42 times 3? Well, let's look over here. 42, right? 42's up here. Times 3, well, that's here, is, oh, look at that. It's 126. Perfect. So what do? We did the multiplying, 42 times 3. So we've done that one, right? We divided, we multiplied. Now what? Yep, subtract. We put that 142 times 3 is 126. We write that 126 down there. We put in our subtraction sign, our equal sign, and we subtract. And obviously, right, you guys know this one. 126 take away 126 is 0. There are no other numbers to bring down. You look up here, you always want to make sure, because if there's more numbers, you got to bring them down, right? So that's a no. We don't have anything else to bring down, but we did do our subtracting. Is there a remainder? No, but that's okay. 0 is fine. You can have a 0 down here, right? So what is our quotient? Think. What's quotient again? Right. Quotient is our answer when we're dividing. So that's tricky because it's not down here. It's not the 0. A lot of people think it's when you're done subtracting the answer down here, but nope. All right. It's going to be the one up here. Let me change colors. Remember, the one at the top of the division box is our quotient or our answer. So if you take let's say it's 966 marbles, right? And you put them into 42 piles. How many equal piles with the same number in each pile? That's the important thing about division. You have to have the same number in each pile, right? So I have 966 marbles. I put them into 42 piles where they're all the same amount in each pile. How many marbles are going to be in each of them piles? Right, 23 marbles in each pile. So that's our done. We're done dividing thing. Okay. Let's see here. Let's look at one. I think this one has a remainder. Let's look at it and see. Okay, we're going to try a new one here. Let me pull her up here. Gonna make it a little bigger so it covers up what we were doing before. There we go. All right, this time it kind of shows you and wants you to just kind of fill in the boxes that are as you go. All right, we need to decide if we're going to do multiples or estimates. Personally, I think 26 is really close to 25. If you want to do multiple, estimate to 25, and because most people can, I don't know, it's up to you. I don't know if you can do it or not. If you can go by 25s, basically counting like your quarters kind of thing, maybe it's just easier to do that. Maybe you go, right, think about your quarters. You got 1 quarter, it's 25 cents. You got 2 quarters, it's 50 cents. You got 3 quarters, it's 75 cents. You got 4 quarters, it's $1, right? And you can kind of keep going like that. If you'd rather, do the repeated addition and have exact numbers because that's easier later on, that's fine. Obviously, remember the times 1 rule. That 26 times 1 is going to be 26. The number stays the same when you multiply by 1, right? All right, so 26 times 2 is going to be the same as 26 plus 26, right? 26 plus 26 is, right, 52. Good. And so 26 times 3, you're just going to add 26 again. This time it's 52 plus 26. What's 52 plus 26? Right, that's our 78. And 26 times 4, what is 26 times 4? Well, that's 78 plus 26, right? 6 plus 8 is 14. You carry the 1, right? 7 plus 2 is 9, but one more is, because we carried that one, right, is 10. So you put the 10 there, so it's 104. 20 plus 26, well, 4 plus 6 is 10, right? You carry the 1. 2 plus that one you carried is a 3. You don't have to add the 0, right? And then the 1 just gets brought down, so 26 times 5 is 130. Now, we can keep going. We can do all of them if you want. It's fine. We can go all the way through 10. I have no problem with that. But if you're like, that's a lot of adding, I want to see if I have enough and don't have to do more, then you can stop. That's fine. All right, same as before, right? You can take that 26 and then now can 28, I have 8 as my first number. If I look at just the 8, can I divide 8 by 26? No, right? 8's smaller than 26. You can't divide that by 26. So you can just put a little X up there to remind yourself, can't do that one, right? All right, well, let's try a different one then. Let's stretch it out and try 83. Just 83, not the whole thing. You don't have to try it all at once. We can take smaller chunks. It's okay, right? 26. How many times can 26 go, into 83? Well, that means we want to get close to 83 without going over. Well, look, 104 is too big, right? That one's too big. What about 78? That's close, but is it too big or is it okay? Right, 78 is smaller than 83, so that one's okay. We can use that one. And I think we will, right? So what is it? 78 is 26 times 3. See that there? So we're going to say 26 times 3. So we did the dividing. And 26 times 3 is the 78. Remember, line things up. Keep them in the column so it's nice and neat and you're subtracting the right numbers, right? So we did our multiplying. Now we're ready for our subtracting. See, we got our list over here to help keep us On track, right? Oh, but this is subtracting with borrowing, isn't it? Because I got 3. Can I take 8 away from 3? If I have 3 fingers up, can I take 8 away? No, right? So I got to take 110 away from the 8. That makes the 8 a 7. And when when I take when I change it over a place value, right? Now it's instead of 1, it's 10. So the 3 is being 10 and 3 are being added together. So now it's 13. Okay, so we got 13 take away 8. What's 13 take away 8? Yeah, it's 5. Good. And obviously 7 take away 7 is 0. So we really just have a 5. And so we did the subtracting. We're doing great. Now we got to bring down, right? Bring down. So do we have a number over here to bring down? Yes, we do. We have that 7. So we're going to bring it down. Again, this is why we're doing the grid paper so we can line everything up. We're going to put the 7 right here next to the 5 so you can tell where it belongs and you're not confusing yourself by having things in different parts of the paper, right? So you got 57 now. That's our new number because the 5 and the 7 become a number together, right? 57 is what we want. Now let's look. We're going to change colors here. So this time, 78 is too big, right? We can't use 78 again. It's bigger than 57. Can't use a number that's bigger than 57. We got to use something that's smaller than 57 but close to it. Do you see something that's smaller than 57 but close to it? Right, that's that 52. This one will work, right? This one's okay. Well, let's see here. 52, that's 26 times 2. Well, let's try here. 26 times 2, right? So we did our dividing. We're doing our multiplying now. 2 times 26 is, right, that's that 52 that we found. And now we're going to do our subtracting, right? Put your little subtraction sign. Let's see here. What do we get? We get 7 take away 2 is, right, that's 5. And 5 take away 5 is nothing. So really, what we have is a 5. Now, do I have something to bring down? Oops, I shouldn't have done that. Okay. The next step is bring down. Let's look over here. Do I have a number over here to bring down? No, I don't. So if I can't bring down, then what does that do to the number that's still down here? What does that make this? I can't divide it because there's not another number to bring down. So what happens to that 5? Right. Instead of repeating the division, now we have what's the other part? What's the other R? Remainder, right? So you put a lowercase r and you put the 5 there. That's one way of showing it, actually. You can write it one of two ways. Okay, you can write it 32 remainder 5, like that. Or if you're doing it the fraction way, right, you can write it as 32 is the whole number. 5 is the top of the fraction. That is not the world's best 5. Let me try that 5, poor 5 again, okay? So 5 goes on top of the line. You put the fraction line. What goes underneath? This. Your divisor is always going to be what goes on the bottom of the fraction line, okay? So your remainder is the numerator on top of the fraction line. Your divisor is always going to be your denominator at the bottom of the fraction line. It's hard to talk and write at the same time. Did you know that? Okay, so either answer is correct. You can write it as 32 remainder 5, and that is a correct answer, okay? Other times they're going to ask you to write it as a mixed number with a fraction at the end. In that case, you're going to want to write it like this, 32 and 5/26. This is how you would say that fraction, if you were wondering, okay? It's an answer either way. That's how you handle long division when you have a remainder. Wanted you to see that in action. Okay. There's one more I wanted you to see, and that's what to do when they want you to estimate instead. So estimating means rounding. Okay. So let's look at this one. Okay. We'll make it big so we don't have to see other stuff in the way. All right, this one's done in story problem form, which is another challenge. Okay. Kiki's book has 216 pages. Excuse me, I got the hiccups. Okay, so she has 216 pages in her book. She's planning on reading 12 pages every day. So that's kind of how many is going to go into each pile. We want to know how many days then it's going to take her to read the whole book. Look here, though, what it says. It says, what do you get for the estimated number of pages that Kiki will read per day? All right, this just basically means round, okay? So remember the rounding rule, right? We're going to round to, let me try a different color for that. Here we go. We're going to round to the first place value that we see in both of these. You do that by looking at the number next to it. So in this case, the 216, the 2 is what we're rounding to. The 1 is the one that we're going to make the decision based on, right? So remember the rounding rule? If it's 4 or less, it stays the same. If it's 5 or more, add 1 more. So let's look at the 1. Is that 5 or more or 4 or less? Where is that on that number line? The 5 is the dividing line. Is it less than 5 or more than 5? Right, it's less than. And remember, if it's 4 or less, the number stays the same. That means this one, the 2 stays the same. And then all the other numbers after it get turned into zeros, like that. That's how you round that, okay? So we got 200 for our dividend, the number that we're going to be dividing into smaller groups. So 200, right? Then, let's see here. Same thing with the 12. We're going to estimate it or round it also. 1 is going to be the number we're rounding, but you got to look to the right one to help you make the decision. It's the 2 that you got to look at when you're deciding, do I round up or no? Okay, remember, same rule. If it's 4 or less, that 1 stays the same. If it's 5, if this 2 is 5 or more, then you add 1 to the 1 and it becomes a 2, right? All right, so where's 2 on that number line? Think about 5. Think about the number line in the 5. Is 2 less than 5 or is 2 more than 5? Right, 2 is less than 5, which means, right, 4 or less, the number stays the same. So this number, the number we're rounding, stays the same. That's that 1 stays the same. And every number after that turns into a 0, right? So we're taking 12 and we're rounding it to the number 10, like that. Oh, that is bad, bad 0. Let me try that again. Okay, there we go. Hard to draw with a mouse, huh? So basically your question is, how many times does 10 go into 200? The estimated version of this, that's all you're trying to answer. And I mean, think about it. You got, right, 10, 20. You can count by your 10s, right? 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. So 10 times 10 is 100, but we could probably keep going, right? 110, 120, 130, 140, 150, 160, 170, 180, 190, 200. So that's doubled. What is 10 doubled? 10 doubled is 20, right? You got 20 plus 10 plus 10 equals 20. So we know already 10, let's try it though, times 20, right? And if you want to check it over here, you can. You can go 10 times 20. Let's see here. Is 0, 0, placeholder 0. 1 times 0 is 0. 2 times 1 is 2. Add them up. Yep. 20 times 10 is 200. No matter how you look at it, 20 times 10 is 200. So I can take my 200, put it there, subtract. I get nothing left over, no remainder, right? So there's different ways you could do it. I mean, you there it'll probably ask you in the lesson to also go ahead and divide the 216 by 12. But I wanted you to see the estimated version. And basically that means rounding. You're going to round the dividend number, right, to its largest place, which is the 2 in the hundreds place. You're going to round your divisor number to its largest place value, which is the tens place there, where the 1 is. So 216 becomes 200. 12 becomes 10. You're dividing 200 by 10. And since we can count by tens, I'm thinking, maybe, right? Then we can kind of just go 10, count it out until we figure out, oh, that's 20. 10 times 20 is 200. Some of them you can do in your head, especially the rounded ones. Some of them you can't. It's okay either way. We're just going to figure out what the answer is. Whether you have to do that by hand or in your head is fine. So those are the three examples I wanted to give you today to kind of, and by the way, all three of these problems will be somewhere in lesson 2.12. Okay, so today's lesson, all three of the problems I gave you, they will be in there. So look for them, right? Hopefully this helps. Hopefully you have a better idea of the steps to take today to find your answers. Let me know if you have any questions, and I'll see you soon, fifth grade. Bye for now.